Volgens ons grondwet is elke Suid-Afrikaner geregtig op gesondheidsorg. Die werklikheid is egter dat die openbare gesondheidsorgstelsel op die rand van die afgrond wankel. Die meerderheid van ons bevolking is uitgelewer aan staatshospitale en klinieke wat in 'n haglike toestand is. Dokters en verpleegsters is uitgebrand en moedeloos. Maar in die Mbashe-distrik in die Oos-Kaap is daar egter 'n juweel. Naby die dorpie Deel is die Madwaleni Hospitaal. 'n Handjievol dokters en ander mediese personeel het sowat 10 jaar terug hier aangekom om die hospitaal, wat vinnig besig was om agteruit te gaan, reg te ruk. Ons het Madwaleni met sy toegewyde personeel en 180 beddens besoek. Die hospitaal bedien 'n gemeenskap van byna 260,000 mense.
We arrived here in 2013. I arrived here because of my wife. I was a junior doctor and she'd found a website on the internet saying, come to Madwaleni Hospital, we need doctors. The thought of that was quite scary. I didn't want to come, but we came and had a visit to the hospital. But we kind of fell in love with the area and felt like if we could gather a few people that were keen to come and work here, we found a hospital that was short-staffed. There was one doctor when we arrived and she was only really doing TB. She was a Dutch doctor.
Like most rural hospitals, Madwaleni had a bit of an up and down history, and around 2012 was quite a low point for the hospital. A bunch of doctors and staff left all at the same time. It was the poor nurses and a few clinical associates trying to keep it all together. Some of our friends who we studied with at UCT saw what was happening here and decided that for their community service here, they wanted to come to Madwaleni. When we saw what was happening here, we finally plucked up the courage and asked the guys if they needed any help.
Het jy met 'n spesifieke doel Madwaleni gekies?
Ek het nog altyd van universiteitsdae af as dit vir my 'n passie om 'n bietjie in die meer afgesonderde plekke uit te kom, en Madwaleni het nog altyd 'n goeie reputasie gehad as van 'n hospitale wat ten spyte van die moeilikhede regtig ouens plan probeer maak en die bes probeer doen.
I was born here in a village called Mpanyana. It's just up there.
And have you always been aware of the Madwaleni Hospital?
Yes. Yeah, I was an asthmatic kid, so my grandmother used to take me here when I got sick.
They trust Madwaleni. They say there is better care for them. When there was COVID, there were people from Libode, outside of Mthatha. They were coming to Madwaleni because they believe that there is better care in Madwaleni.
We arrived here thinking we were going to have our evenings free and, spend our time relaxing and, what are we going to do with all our free time? But realizing that the same pressures exist and in some ways in a rural hospital, it's fewer people that it falls upon.
At times when we do the maths, we realize that we are here in Mbashe, one doctor for every 15,000 people, and then it gets quite intimidating. But we're about 15 doctors at the moment, 2 clinical associates, and then we've got a great staff in our sepies block, which are the rehab staff. So we've got two speech therapists, and we've got a few physios, a few occupational therapists. And then our nursing staff is quite big. We probably have about 200 nurses of different ranks.
Hoekom is landelike gesondheid vir jou wonderlik?
Mense is deel van 'n groter prentjie. Jy voel jy is deel van die oplossing. Die pathology wat mense sien is amazing. Jy kan 'n diagnose maak, jy sien as jy vir die eerste keer hulle kom na jou toe, dis lekker meer medicine. En dit is net 'n all-around baie lekker plek om te leef, om te werk.
We have quite a busy maternity with a 24-hour Caesar service, which is quite important to have. You can imagine if we weren't able to do a Caesar here, it's a long trip to the next hospital they can. So getting rural hospitals able to do those operations are really important. A big part of South Africa is rural. A third of the country is rural, and the Eastern Cape in particular, about half of the provinces counts as rural.
What are the biggest health challenges in the area?
The biggest disease that we deal with is, for me, TB and HIV. These are 2 common conditions that have been spoken about for so long.
I think teenage pregnancy is a big issue. I mean, that's something that, we deal with the consequences of it when we deliver babies. There's nothing harder than seeing a 16-year-old with a small prem baby, knowing she's going to have to spend the next month or 2 in hospital while her baby grows, and realizing how much that's changed her life. Malnutrition is a big problem, and particularly under 5s that come in, often quite small babies. There's a little bit of a misunderstanding with regards to formula. And the role that formula can play. And so we find that we have increasing but still low rates of exclusive breastfeeding. especially in high-risk children.
Op einde van die maand, as jy ons 'n bietjie gekuier het, dan definitief messteke. 'n Hele paar kinders wat van donkies afval en beeskoppe kry. Dis gewoonlik ons grootste gebreekte arms, TB en HIV. Ja, dit lyk maar redelik, ek dink standaard soos ander rural areas.
Madwaleni is a very special kind of hospital. Madwaleni in particular is one of the busiest district hospitals in our province, and they are also the only district hospital in the Mbashe area. So they are an essential service to the communities that drain into that facility.